It's been a long time coming. Justin Pooni joined with Steven Psihogios of NorthStar Bets. Stevie, we were just talking about it off air. There's a whole lot of races going down in the NHL, which many are calling the greatest season in NHL history. We have a race for the Art Ross that might finally be reaching its conclusion. We have a race to see who's going to finish second in the Central. We have a race on who's going to get the final playoff spot in the East. We have a race now for who's going to finish first in the Pacific. And we also have the hotly debated race on who is going to win the Hart Trophy. Stevie, let's start off, though, not only your shirt, but I'm going to give you some flowers that you stay true to your conviction. I give you so many chances to come join me on the Connor McDavid train, to come back and win the Art Ross. And it was looking good. He did miss a few games because of injury earlier in the season, and he is out right now. I saw some video. He is skating, so Oiler fans, don't worry. You know number 97 is going to be at the forefront when it comes to playoff hockey. But Stevie, congratulations. Looks like Cooch is going to win the Art Ross. As this particular time, he's 4 points up on Nathan MacKinnon. And he's got 4 games left this season. So looks like you're going to be smelling some roses, Stevie.
Yeah, as you can see, you're not the only one giving me
Yeah.
flowers these days. The shirt, lots. It didn't make itself. And yeah, I was given multiple outs when it was looking bleak or bleaker, at least for Nikita Kucherov, but I stayed true to my conviction. And he's just someone who is able to take his game to that next
Mm-hmm.
level. He's like 50 plus points ahead of the next closest player on his team when it comes to points. And that's Braden Point, who's in second. He's just having an incredible season. And that's why I was sticking with him. I've seen this guy game in, game out. The way he's able to play make is unbelievable, whether it's on the power play, whether it's at even strength. He is phenomenal. So you got to give him his respect and his kudos. It's been a good race, though, in the points race. I won't fault you, especially considering where McDavid's odds were about 3-4 weeks ago for jumping on the McDavid train. There was some nice, juicy. Even at one point, I remember him being at like 10-1, 12-1 to lead the league in points. And he just came on like a freight train down the stretch. Just is going to fall short though. But nonetheless, I can't fault the logic that it went into the McDavid pick. But Kucherov was the guy, my guy, and he's come through right now in the Art Ross race. That is
5 straight multi-point games, 4 straight 3-point games. He had 2 last night against Ottawa. Will help you seal the deal. Now we're gonna put the pause on the Kucherov, McDavid, MacKinnon, Matthews talk for the Hart Trophy in a second. But a couple races across team-wise, standings-wise. Let's start off first with the East. Pittsburgh, big win last night in at home against Detroit. Erik Karlsson with the game winner in overtime. They're now 1 point clear of everybody else for that final wild card spot. It looks like the Islanders are going to get that third and final spot in the Metro. How do you see this shaking out? Look, I was driving the Detroit train early. I thought, you know what, they're going to make it. The bump they got from Patrick Kane, but for whatever reason, the Detroit just doesn't seem like they're ready to really close games out and win these big games. Big losses to Washington and Pittsburgh this week.
yeah.
Washington.
It's
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna
Go,
say
go.
it's tough to put Detroit in that mix
Yeah,
now with the way they've played this week, right?
absolutely, absolutely. But then you have Washington with their horrible goal differential, and the fact that look, Ovechkin hit 30 goals, which nobody thought was gonna be possible earlier this year. But they've kind of, I think their true colors have come. Philly has just imploded, right? To the point now where people wondering if Tortorella is gonna even be back, which I think is ludicrous. Um, it's Pittsburgh that's going to get this spot, right? They're going to get the final wild card spot. They're 7-0-2 in their last 10 games or whatever, and they're playing their best hockey right now. And hell, we're going to talk about the Hart Trophy after. Stevie, I'm going to say it right now. Sidney Crosby deserves all of his flowers and then some.
I can't argue with you with throwing Crosby in that mix. He's been
Mhm.
someone I've been banging the drum for years. He just doesn't get that recognition from voters because you know what he's not putting up the McDavid numbers or
Mhm.
the MacKinnon, the Matthews numbers. So he just kind of gets bypassed. But you have to give him his credit. This team sold at the deadline. Their
Mhm.
top goal scorer was shipped out of town in Jake Gensel, and they fought tooth and nail to get this spot. while I do agree with you that I think it is going to be Pittsburgh, whoever it is who gets that final wild card spot, dead on arrival in the playoffs. They are getting knocked out. It is going to be quick order because it's really been for the last 3 weeks or so who who wants it least. It really has
Yeah.
been a race of who wants it more. We've seen Washington again. They lose to Buffalo the other night, blow a game that they should have won.
Mhm.
The Flyers, I mean, could you want it any less?
Oof.
They've just fallen right out of the picture, and Detroit's been the same way. Detroit has lost seemingly every big game that they've played down the
Mhm.
stretch. Detroit has lost, so it's really been there for the taking. And Pittsburgh was a team that 2 weeks ago I wasn't even looking at, and now
Yeah.
all of a sudden, because of how bad everyone else in front of them has played, they were the ones that seized their opportunity, however slim it was at the time. So I agree with you. Pittsburgh is probably going to get in, but I
Mhm.
also think Pittsburgh is done as soon as they enter the playoffs because if they're going up against the Rangers or the
Mhm.
Bruins, they do not have what it takes to beat those teams.
Look, Sidney Crosby moved into the top 10 all time of points yesterday, 1,000 assists. This guy right here is a top five NHL player of all time. I don't care what anybody has to say. I don't care if the numbers don't back it up. What he has done throughout the longevity of his career, the obstacles he's gone through, Stevie. Remember, Crosby came into the league when there was a lockout. We had no year of NHL hockey prior to him coming to the league. He was billed as the savior, the next Wayne Gretzky, this prodigy we heard so much about, and he's lived up to the hype and then some. Kind of like LeBron James. LeBron was dubbed the chosen one at what, 15? Same thing as Sidney Crosby, right? Crosby also missed all that time with concussions. Remember, that was during the peak of his career, Stevie, where he was putting up numbers next to Gretzky. What we're seeing McDavid do that year Crosby got hurt, he was putting up numbers exactly like that, dominating the league like no else. And we got those years taken away. But how does he follow that up? Coming back, right? Not only being again a point per game player, 100 point player again, but leading his team to back Stanley Cups, winning multiple gold medals. Sidney Crosby, when it's all said and done, yes, Ovechkin is going to break Gretzky's goal scoring record, but Sidney Crosby is going to be a pantheon great in the NHL. He has the hardware to back it up. He has the stats to back it up. And I think this year might be one of his greatest achievements individually, just dragging this sorry Pittsburgh Penguin team to the playoffs. Look, he has 89 points this season. Evgeny Malkin has 63. He's 26 points better than Evgeny Malkin this year. He deserves all of his flowers and then some, regardless if they get swept in the first round, which they probably will.
Agreed. You look at Crosby. This is a guy who has made those around him better.
Mhm.
And you can't really say the same about everyone else. These other players that we're talking about, sure, they can play, and it doesn't matter who you put them on a line with. Like we've
Yeah.
seen Zach Cassian play with Connor McDavid at some points, and that was tough. But I wouldn't say McDavid made Cassian better. I mean, Crosby's made careers. He made Chris Kunitz
Mhm.
what he was. He got Chris Kunitz a gold medal at the Olympics.
He did.
He's made Brian Rust into an everyday
27
NHL
goals this year.
player, right? Like the Penguins, they just call up these wingers. I don't even know some of them, and they put them on a line with Crosby, and
Yeah.
next thing you know, they're scoring 20 goals. Like
Yeah.
it's what he does, right? He makes everyone around him better. He's solid at both ends of the ice. You got to give him his flowers. I agree. I think the way he's impacted his teammates, even more so than anything he's done individually, is what puts him into that top five conversation. He's won 3 cups. He is a team player in a day and age where guys want to max out their contracts. Crosby hasn't done that. He's willing to take a cut to help his team. He is the ultimate team player on and off the ice, and that gets my recognition, especially when you have, like you said, the Hart trophies, the Stanley Cups, all of
Mhm.
the hardware to back it up.
Look, absolutely. Now let's go over to the West. It looks like this Dallas Stars, our team to kind of stand the deepest team in the Western Conference. We both think, but for second and third in the Central is dead even right now. The Jets and the Avs are both tied with identical records. How do you see that shaking up? That's going to be an interesting first round series because both teams have a lot of good, but both teams have some glaring flaws as well. With the Jets, we think it's their upfront scoring. With the Avs, it's goaltending, but also the health of Mikko Rantanen as well. How do you see that race shaken up, and who do you think wins that first round series?
Well, The Avs better hope that they get home ice advantage
Mhm.
because they've been nothing short of dreadful on the road this year. You
Yeah.
look at playoff teams as far as they go, road records. Avalanche, one of the worst of any team to qualify for the playoffs. Nobody's taking away what you do at Ball Arena.
Mhm.
You've got your elevation helping you out there, and it's a big factor for these opposing teams coming in. But when you got to play, at sea level like the rest of us, hey, it's a bit of a different story, isn't it, Colorado?
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm honestly tired of hearing about how great of a team Colorado is because they've been promised to us to be like a dynasty, like the Kansas City Chiefs are in the NFL. They got one title, and they were just bounced out of the first round last year. And hey, you could be staring down another first round bouncing this year when you play the Winnipeg Jets. Winnipeg's the team
Ooh.
that's coming on now at the right time. They shut out the Dallas Stars. I mean, we saw
Mhm.
Dallas, that same team, go in and beat Colorado
Yeah.
the other night, and Winnipeg just handles them. I think they've taken the comments and the negative remarks, which hey, we said our fair share too. We said
Yeah.
Winnipeg and Toronto would be the first two Canadian teams to get knocked out. They've taken that to heart. And
Mhm.
if they get home ice advantage, I'll pick up to beat Colorado because I don't think the Avs can do it as an underdog and having to go on the road against Winnipeg.
No, I agree. Look, I think Winnipeg is defensively sound. I don't like Colorado on the road, but I just don't think Winnipeg has the horses to compete with Colorado. They don't have who's gonna stop McKinnon? Who's gonna stop Rantanen? Who's gonna stop
Connor
McCarr?
Hellebuck. Connor Hellebuck. Who's gonna stop a muffin shot from the blue line when Winnipeg fires those off
Look,
for against Colorado? Alexander Georgiev.
I
That's
think
a huge mismatch in net. Let me just keep that in mind. That's a huge
I agree.
mismatch
I
in net.
agree. I agree. Right. But I just can't. I can't go against the Avs in that. I think the Avs are just they have more battle tested. I think Winnipeg's a good story, a good team. I just don't think they can get it done in the playoffs whatsoever. Um, let's talk about two teams that I think both can get it done in the playoffs. The race for the first in the Pacific Division. My Vancouver Canucks taking on the Edmonton Oilers on Saturday night, which will probably be for the division title. Um, eh, actually, let me take that back. Won't be for the
Depends on what
division
happens
title.
tonight, too, right?
Depends on what happens tonight against the Oilers, against the Coyotes. But let's expect that the Oilers do take care of business, beat the Coyotes. One game in hand, 2 points back, but the Canucks do hold the tiebreaker. And here's the thing. Everybody in the outside media talking, oh my God, the Canucks are collapsing. Oh my God, the Canucks are falling apart. The Canucks are without Thatcher Demko right now, who on NorthStar Bets is still one of the favorites behind, well, of course, behind Callback, who's a prohibitive favorite, but he's still in top three in odds to win the Vezina Trophy, right? They've had Casey DeSmith and Arthur Silvos, right? Like they haven't had good goaltending the last 13 games, right? Once Thatcher Demko comes back, watch out. The Canucks will be totally fine. But how do you see this race for the first place in the Pacific Division shaken out? And would you rather play LA or would you rather want to play Nashville uh, if you're the first or second in the Pacific?
Well, I put down earlier this week on
Mhm.
Edmonton to win the Pacific. Sorry, Justin. I'm sorry. I didn't like the way your Canucks are trending, and I know it has to do with Demko being out, but you have to take that into effect when you're making this bet, right? We don't know when he's coming back.
No,
We
he'll be
really
back.
don't have a. Yeah, I know he will be back, but are they going to rush him to get ready before the
Well,
playoffs start? Like that's what I mean. When I made this bet, I was thinking, I don't
well,
know how quickly do you want to bring Demko back? Ultimately, you want that guy healthy for the first round.
hmm.
So I do like the Oilers to win the Pacific. I think they take care of business against the Yotes and Canucks these next two nights, and I know they got a couple games in hand as well. So I do think that plays into Edmonton's favor. But look, in the first round, I'd rather play Nashville. This team hasn't been very good. They've lost 6 of 8 actually since they went on that incredible run, which is looking more like a mirage than it was actual solid play. It's not a bad Nashville team,
Mhm.
but if they don't get on this ridiculous, obscene run, they're not in the playoffs. You can make that argument. So I'm going to say Nashville is the team you want to play. Yeah, a couple weeks ago, no, you didn't want to step in front of that train, but now, all right, let's bring on the Predators.
For the sake of this argument, let's say the Canucks finish second in the Pacific Division. For your argument's sake, I think the Canucks have dummied Edmonton all season. They've played really good. I think Demko, even if he doesn't play on Saturday, the plan for him was to always come back and play at least 2 games before the playoffs. That's still on track. He talked yesterday to the media saying he feels great. And they've done their time. They've taken their time and really let him rest and recuperate. LA plays like the Minnesota Wild, New Jersey Devils back in the early 2000s. They play that 1-3-1 and they clog it up. And it has not worked for the Canucks. We've seen Edmonton. I think Edmonton is more suited to beat either or Nashville or LA. I think Nashville's a great story. Yossi's having another great season. UC Saros does scare me, but either the Canucks or Oilers should make a work of the Nashville. They've kind of come back down to earth. They took that great run they went on. They didn't see U2. They went on a run for the ages. But how much energy did they exert to go on that run, right? And now you come back down to earth. And I think, look, it's a great story. Great that they're in the playoffs. It's going to be an electric atmosphere in Nashville. But I do think either Edmonton or Vancouver make easy work of the Nashville Predators. Maybe not easy work, but they make work of them. Probably a six-game series for either team.
Yeah, I see it going even shorter, to be honest. I really haven't liked what I've seen from Nashville.
Yeah.
I know the atmosphere will be great. That Bridgestone Arena is always fired up for the playoffs, but I just don't see it. I don't see it with this team. They don't have enough down the middle of the ice. Forsberg's having a really nice year, but you look at the Canucks and you look at the Oilers, they got better offensive skill position talent. I like what Edmonton does better defensively. And in net, I think both Edmonton and Vancouver will hold an edge. Like Saros is a solid goalie, but Stuart Skinner, the way he's played this year since that ugly start, he's been phenomenal. You've had great play too from Demko, as you mentioned. He's been excellent. So I'm not going to sit here and say they have a goaltending edge either. I'll take the better defenses and I'll take the better goaltending and the better offense. I just don't see where Nashville has an edge in that series.
Let's get to the main event of the proceedings. Our Hart Trophy debate. Look, you got Kucherov, you got McDavid, you got MacKinnon, you got Matthews, who's now at 69 goals, right? Only 2 goals away
68,
from 68. He's got 2 more to get to 70, right? You have Sidney Crosby, who's dragging the Pittsburgh Penguins to be in the playoffs that we talked about. You have a beef with Colorado Avalanche fans, and I saw your tweet you put out yesterday defending Nikita Kucherov. So I'm going to give you the floor first and make your case as to who should win the Hart Trophy and why.
Well, look, if Matthews scores 70 goals, it's over. It's over.
That's not true. That's not true.
It's over.
Okay.
70 goals is a milestone we didn't even think was possible. And Justin, in our lifetimes, how many 70 goal scorers have you seen? In our lifetime?
Well, Mario Lemieux, no, he did not score 70. The last 7 times 70 goals scored was Brett Hull or Timo Solani, right? Back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
I was not born then, no.
Yeah, I wasn't born then either. He is redefining what we thought was possible.
Okay.
When he scored 60 a few seasons ago, we thought, wow, that's incredible. Now he's scoring 70. If he gets 2 more, you give him the Hart Trophy because it's more impressive and more dominant what he's doing in the goal race than what anybody's doing in the points race.
Yeah.
They're all having nice seasons. Kucherov, nice season. MacKinnon, nice season. McDavid, nice season. But none of them are dominating the way McDavid did last year. McDavid was lapping the league. And they're going to finish all with less points. And that's why when I'm looking at these picks now and these options for who's going to win the Hart Trophy, you might be able to hear the dogs barking in the background here. I'm looking at an underdog in Auston Matthews. That's someone who I think is a great pick to win the Hart Trophy this year at long odds. Last time I checked at NorthStar Bets, you can get them at 20-1. And the dogs, they won't stop barking. They will not stop barking for Auston Matthews. I think if he wins, he's the pick. MacKinnon, your team, you're having a nice year. That's great. Your team probably doesn't even get home ice or might not even get home ice here in the playoffs right now. What are we talking about? We got Auston Matthews. Okay, his team might not get home ice either, but he's setting a new precedent. And that's why he gets the Hart Trophy.
Coming from a Boston Bruin fan to give this impassionate speech as to why Auston Matthews should be the Hart Trophy. Very impressive, Stevie. Very impressive. Look, I thought Auston Matthews was going to win the Hart Trophy back in February. Then he went on that little slump, and I kind of lost in the turn of it. I thought you were going to go with Kucherov. I really thought you were going to go with Kucherov lapping the field with his teammates. But I do agree with you because I think that Kucherov stat is flawed because how many They got a bunch of 70-point guys. They have a bunch of 80. They have 80-point guys as well. There's balance on the Tampa Bay Lightning. You look at Nathan MacKinnon. Yeah, he has Rantanen and Makar, but after that, it kind of dips a little bit. You have McDavid and Draisaitl, but Hyman's has scored 50. What's the definition of the Hart Trophy? The most valuable player to their team, right? If we were to just look in that vacuum, because we know the voters don't look in that vacuum. Majority of the time, it's whoever has the most points wins the Hart Trophy, right? Which I think is absolutely horrendous, right? I hate it. And it cheapens the award. The most valuable player to their team is Sidney Crosby, right?
Oh.
Without Sidney Crosby, right? The Pittsburgh Penguins are rebuilding. They're competing with the Columbus Blue Jackets, the San Jose Sharks, Chicago Blackhawks at the bottom of the standings. They're not even sniffing a playoff spot. Now I know they're going to get waxed in the first round, but this is a regular season award. Crosby and what he's doing, dragging this team to the playoffs, is most valuable. Now, do I think, now that's what my heart is saying. I do agree with you about Matthews and that, look, the Leafs have needed damn near all those goals to win games, right? But I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. The hockey writers have been wanting to give Nathan MacKinnon an MVP after they gave it to Taylor Hall, which you could have given it to MacKinnon that year, right? Arguably. And he's come close before. It's kind of like the NBA where how many times was Embiid finally knocking on the door and they just gave it to him? They're going to give Nathan MacKinnon the Hart Trophy because why? The voters want to give. He's too good of a player to not go without a Hart Trophy. Whether you disagree with it or not, that is what's going to happen. The hockey writers and the voters are going to just give MacKinnon the award because it fits the storyline better. That's
I hope those voters look at themselves in the mirror and feel ashamed, because if Matthews scores 70 goals,
I get it.
And to that point too, if the Leafs don't have Matthews, man, I don't think this is the playoff team. I'll be 100% honest with you.
People are gonna.
I don't think this is a playoff team. They are not good at all. They got below average defense. Their goalie just gave up 6 goals on 20 shots last night. The same guy who was in the minors earlier this year, Joseph Wall. He's he's like I can't even know. It's like a Mario wall. Like you can break through this guy like nothing. Like he is not a wall. This is not a Joseph Wall.
I agree.
Like this team is not good. This team is not good, man. They're not good.
But what I'm giving you the reality though, the fact is that the people with the power to vote, they're gonna vote MacKinnon because why? Okay, he has the stats ticked, right? He plays on a really good team, tick. He's the best player on that team, tick. He's been close a few times before, tick. Okay, let's give him the Hart Trophy. He's too good not to have the Hart Trophy, right? I agree 1,000% that Matthews has been the most valuable player to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and without him, right? Yes, they might not be a playoff team, but what are people going to say? Oh, he has Marner, he has Tavares, he has Nylander, another 100-point guy as well, right? That's what they're going to say, right? That's what people are going to say.
I don't know. Can you imagine?
If we're looking at it true through a vacuum, at the most valuable player to their team, it's Sidney Crosby, right? It's fine. Now I'm going to tell you.
I don't have any issues. I don't have a great issue with that. I think that's a fair claim. But 70 goals is 70 goals.
I agree.
Like this is the hardest thing.
He's gonna win I agree. He's gonna win the Rocket Richard. He's the best goal scorer in hockey, far and away. He deserves it. But watch. The finalists are going to be MacKinnon, McDavid, Kucherov. Matthews is not even going to be a finalist for the Hart Trophy.
That's ridiculous.
But
could you imagine?
That's what I'm saying.
Scoring 70 goals and not even be. What are we doing here as voters? Why don't we just give the award out at the beginning of the year to say, hey, we want this guy to win it this year, and we'll give it to him. Like this is 70. McKinnon's not even going to lead the league in points, man. He plays with the best defenseman in the NHL. He has another teammate with 100+ points. This is absurd. By what definition does he win MVP? It's absurd. It's absurd.
That's my argument though. That's the problem with the Hart Trophy, right? The Hart Trophy goes to whoever has the most amount of points, right? That's what's going to happen. The top 3 point getters are going to be the top 3 finalists for the Hart Trophy, right? And with either 3 of those guys, you could make a case they could win the Hart Trophy. But for a guy like Matthews, like you said, who made various astute points as to why he should be the Hart Trophy winner. For a guy like Crosby, who I think should be the Hart Trophy winner, they're not going to be finalists because the vote getters, all they do is just pick the top 3 point getters. Okay, yeah, hockey's vote assists and goals. Okay, there you go. They're the finalists. It's not the voting is flawed, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, if it does shake out the way you're telling me, man, I'm gonna be ticked off. This guy Matthews. You ever play Mario? You know
Yeah.
when you throw in he just jumps up and he breaks the brick. That's what the Joseph Wall is made out of. Like he's that thin. And then you got another guy like there's Marner. I mean, the Leafs hummed along just fine without him.
They did.
Nylander, he cashed in and he's been a ghost. Like this team, there's nothing around it that would make me believe it's a playoff team without Auston Matthews. And now you're telling me that 70 goals in, this guy doesn't win the most valuable player to his team in the league. It's absurd. If he's not even a finalist, Leaf fans, a lot of the times when they hold gripes, I think they're just being sour.
Yeah.
Like the player safety out to get them this and that, whatever. I think that's just a load of nonsense. But you have if you have a 70 goal scorer, someone redefining what you could do as a goal is in his own league, and he doesn't get a vote, and you give a guy who finished second in points on an Avs team that's apparently that has the best defenseman and it has another 100-point guy in Rantanen. Give me a break, man.
Quinn Hughes is winning the best defenseman award this year. We know that.
Yeah, this year for sure. Makar's there every year though. It's almost to the point where he gets voter fatigue. Yeah,
that's true. That's what I'm saying.
That's the one nice thing I'll say about the Avs.
Defense. I agree. Matthews should be a finalist for the Hart Trophy, right? But I think you need to understand that the voters will just pick the top 3 guys in points and trot it out like that. And that's what's going to happen. So let's put this debate for rest for now. Let's go to your best bets for tonight's Friday action in the NHL.
Well, I'm starting off with a guy to not score a point. Not a fun bet to make, but I'm betting on Matias Maccelli to not score a point for the Arizona Coyotes. The dogs upstairs, I don't know if you can hear them. They're barking. They don't like it. They like the Yotes, their fellow dog team. But I'm picking Maccelli to not score a point at -139. I like the under between the Blues and the Hurricanes, under 5.5 at +100. The Canes are the second best under team in the league. If you can get them at even money to go below the total, that's usually a good bet. Third, I like the over between the Golden Knights and the Wild at -118. That's hit in each of the Golden Knights' last 4 games. It's hit in 3 of 4 for the Blues.
I got a little parlay for you tonight, and this is totally because I don't want to see Vegas make the playoffs at all. I'm going to take the Minnesota Wild on the money line at Vegas to upset them, and I'm going to take the St. Louis Blues to upset the Carolina Hurricanes at home. So Vegas is, because they're only 3 points up, right? So look, Minnesota, St. Louis, help me knock Vegas out of the playoffs. That'll be greatly appreciated. Stevie, greatly appreciate your time. We had a whole lot of stuff to talk about today. And we'll talk again next week, my friend, as we inch closer to the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Sounds great, Justin. I can't wait.